Live.
Man, that is messed up, Calvin. Morning, gentlemen.
What
Man,
up? What's good?
What happening?
so rude.
All right,
Couldn't help
fellas.
any other way.
All right. Today's October 16th, 2022, triple option. Time to get to it. Mr. 411 in the building, Zack and Coy. Some major happenings in the college ranks yesterday. So we're gonna get into it.
All right.
All right, here we go, fellas.
Yes, sir. We are back on the college football podcast. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties, but that is okay. We got a few big games we're going to look at. Well, actually, college football was filled with some games yesterday. Probably at the top of the docket was the Tennessee and the Alabama game. And hopefully my cohorts will come back with me soon. And then there we go. There goes one of them. There goes Zack. I thought they ran off because they didn't want to talk about Alabama, Tennessee. But
Ain't
that is not the case.
Worried about Alabama and Tennessee.
Says the Alabama fan, right?
That is right, because the Alabama fan won. I got more championships than fingers. So first thing, but before we get into that part of it, I'm probably gonna cut out a little bit. But before we get into all that,
and you did cut out. And see, I might have to do this solo today, but that's all right. So I'm not sure where we're going to start at. We got these gentlemen out here. You said you don't want to start at Alabama, Tennessee.
Am I back up?
You are back up. Go ahead. We'll start where you want to start at.
Yeah, I'm saying yes, we will, Zach. Damn it, you've been MIA and you've been missing class, so now sit to the back of the room and let us run this thing.
Oh, that's fine. I'm good. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yes, because I got a fine for you, brother. Anyway, people, go ahead, Mr. 411.
All right, cool. Let's welcome everybody to the show. October the 16th, 2022, triple option. Hit that like, subscribe, notification button, please, on YouTube. Type in the numbers 411 as you see on this cap, and then put a space in there and type in the word Sports World, and then kindly hit subscribe. And then after you do that, hit like, hit the notification, do all that good stuff for us. It keeps people like Zack and Coy on the air. That's the only way I can keep them. So you got to do those things for us. Since we're not that type of business, Coy, you are the Alabama Crimson Tide fan, and you've been that for decades. And
you don't want to start there.
Well, we'll start here, gentlemen. Let's put up week 7. Here's all the matchups, the key matchups that we talked about in the production meetings, and got the approval from the producers to just touch on these matchups. Some of them we'll hammer, some of them we'll breeze through, but we'll talk about these and any other intriguing things that happened this weekend. We'll have a HBCU segment and so we'll touch on a couple games over there as well, and anything else in between. So, gentlemen, with that said, uh, since Zach is so kind, Corey, you pick the first matchup out of here to talk about, and then we'll pass it to Zach.
We're gonna talk about the upset. I mean,
And
let's be honest.
all right, so that's Alabama falling to Tennessee 49-52. So we'll go there, and I'm sure Zach want to hear you, Corey.
The first analysis is you've been slipping by all year long. You have not had a pure performance on offense and defense. And I believe, matter of fact, last week when I watched that game and I realized and I paid attention, I watched Bama give off 17 points off of turnovers, which pretty much almost lost, which pretty much was the margin of what Texas A&M put up. I said, you know what? This team is not ready to be a national championship team. I don't care if your backup quarterback in, you make too many mental errors. Your two, which I consider first round defensive ends, show flashes of greatness, and then next thing you know they go flat. I.e., you get 49 points with Will Anderson and what's the other kids? The other
Dallas
kid,
Turner.
Dallas Turner, and then number 41. There is no way that Tennessee should have been able to march up and down the field at will in the fourth quarter. Not with that type of talent coming on the edge and late in the game. Just saying. So, say what you want to say. The Bama damn it deserved to lose that game. They did everything in their power to do. They had a chance to kind of separate themselves in the third quarter. Let's take the first quarter out. Y'all brought y'all back. Y'all had momentum. Y'all could extend it. You could try to do what you needed to do to put the game away. You didn't. You allowed them back in the game. So hats off to Tennessee. And it's not like Tennessee's not a rival. People tend to think Tennessee's not Bama's rival. It used to be the other way around. When I was in my 18, 19, 20 years old, before Bama had this rush, and it used to be the second Saturday in October used to be a big deal. And all I can say is kudos to the Vols. I do, and when they hit that stadium, I was like, y'all need to act like y'all been there before, because this rush in the field every time you win a game is getting real old to me.
Hey, what's up, OG $2? What's happening?
What's up,
How's
big
it
bro?
going?
Thanks for joining us this morning, as well as everybody else who's watching across the world. Zach, have at it, bro.
Look, I would love to get on here and bash Alabama because I got a lot of family members from my dad's side that make me sit with Alabama. But I'm not going to do it. Look, this is I'm going to say this is a guy that's been a Georgia fan for a long time. And you and I used to have this debate, Mr. 4-1, before Georgia won a national championship. The SEC is the best conference when it comes to college football. You're going to have games like this. And Alabama not only plays in the best conference for college football, but they play in the best division. They don't have any gimmies on their schedule like that.
Tennessee's from the East.
Yeah, yes, correct. But Alabama plays in the West, which is the best division. So they get
not this year.
It's the best division in college football. Absolutely.
Not this year. This year.
Which one do you think is better?
The East is more competitive.
Yeah,
with two teams.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
No. Let's go like this. I mean, I'm gonna cut you off.
Okay. Yeah, we gotta go quick on this because Zach need to finish his thoughts.
All right.
No, we all good.
We got Georgia, Tennessee. Those are the top two teams, right?
Okay.
Then we got Kentucky. They're mediocre.
No. I just watched them last night. Against Mississippi State. That quarterback for them is way overrated, and they can barely score. And that running back is whatever. Ain't nobody afraid to go play at Kentucky. But continue.
No, ain't nobody afraid to go to Kentucky, but ain't nobody afraid to go play the Michigan, the Auburn, and LSU.
Auburn is bad. LSU just beat up on Florida last night. Brian Kelly is a great coach, as I've said. Their talent is coming together.
You know what? Finish this take. We're gonna have this out.
Yeah. All right. Finish it. Zach, finish your take. Zach, finish your take.
This man said a corpse is a great coach.
All right, we'll finish
Kelly
your
is a
take.
great coach.
Well, Zach, finish your take about
Okay.
what you're saying about Alabama,
Yes.
and everybody needs to
It's
relax a little bit. Go
yes.
ahead.
They play in the best division in the best conference in football. Look, think about it. They had to go to Texas. Now we can say what we want about Texas. That's a as far as a game when you talking about a non-conference game, it's that's a tough environment to play in. They just went to Tennessee. Tennessee is probably the best offense they're gonna see in the most harsh environment that they'll have to go play at this year, no matter what. Even if they end up say playing Georgia or Tennessee again at the in the SEC championship, it'll be a neutral site game. If they go to the college football playoff, even if they play Ohio State, that's going to be on a neutral site. And whoever they were playing the national championship is a neutral site. So they just played probably the toughest offense you can play on the road in the country. And it was missing their wide receiver. And they lost by 3 points. Like, so I'm old enough to remember when Alabama lost to A&M last year. I'm old enough to remember not the year Mac Jones went undefeated, but the years prior to that. Alabama always loses a game. They always kind of lose a road game, and this type of stuff happens. And somehow they circle the wagons, and come into November, they're still in the national title hunt. Now it sucks because they don't get a break, and I would say it sucks because their wide receivers, Lord Jesus, is they boy, if they don't make Saban want to cuss everybody out because they don't catch the ball, they're not getting the explosive plays like they want to. And Burden thought he was a one, and he is a average wide receiver. And I'd also say they haven't gotten the contributions from the transfer outside of Gibbs that they thought they were. Eli Ricks, for whatever reason, can't see the field. He was supposed to be somebody to help them in the secondary. And then I can't think of his damn name from Louisville, but the Louisville coach was mad. They took the wide receiver that's a speedster. He hasn't played, I think, since the Utah State game for them. So they're still trying to get their pieces together. And unfortunately, while they're trying to get everything to jail, they had to go to Tennessee. They got Mississippi State next week. I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem for Bryce Young. Looked great yesterday. They play that game, then they get a break. They get a bye, and they'll have a chance to get things together. The only question I would have is this for Calvin and any Alabama fans, and we'll find out this in a couple weeks when Georgia plays Tennessee. If Alabama plays Georgia in the SEC championship, or they play Tennessee in the SEC championship, do you think they can beat Tennessee or Georgia? Because if you think they can beat Tennessee or Georgia in the SEC championship, then you just need to win the rest of your games. As I said, I was impressed by Alabama. I thought that turnover on that damn punt return, that the guy don't know what he was thinking. It was 21-10. You get that back, you probably go get 3 points. If not, get 7 points, and you make it a 4-point game possibly. He muffs it. It becomes a 18-point game. That's probably the big thing. And I would just say too, and they got to fix this part, because I won't say they can win the national championship for certain. Their secondary is terrible. I don't understand how Alabama defensive backs can't cover anybody. Calvin is getting on the ends. It don't matter if you get after the quarterback when the corners can't cover any damn body. Like, it's ridiculous. The safeties were losing, as everybody like to say, in phase on 2 of those touchdowns. The damn safety is already back there. I don't know what he thought the wide receiver was doing, and the wide receivers ran by him at least twice on my count. So I'm just not concerned, Calvin, because it's Coach Saban. Y'all are gonna have tough game. Mississippi State is gonna be tough. Like Ole Miss, they run the ball and they do some things. That's gonna be tough for you. LSU is gonna be tough for you. Like it's real over there on your side. But I think Alabama gets out of this 11-1, and then they'll have the SEC championship game to play just like last year to go to the CFP.
All right. Oh, go ahead, Zach.
No, I was gonna say they like Ohio, like USC lost last night, but USC, and I know we'll get into it, but think about it. USC ain't got no crazy games they got to play to try to get back into the contest. Oklahoma State, same thing. Like when those teams lose, they don't necessarily have the hard path that a team like Alabama has to get back into the race. Like Alabama can't afford any more issues. They got to tighten things up. And that's the only real issue for Alabama.
Alabama got to get through the Mississippi soon.
They will.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
They
Well, before
will.
we, well, of course, before you rebuttal, let's throw in a couple of quick shout outs. Jones Music Company, LLC. Terrence Jones, my brother. If you heard the tremendous track to start off the show, he wrote that, composed it, put it all together, and we give him a big, give much props for doing so. We are on Blackjack TV, www.blackjacktv.net. We thank the Jack for the simulcast for today's show and all the other shows that we have on the 411 Sports World Network. So we thank Blackjack TV, the Jack. All right, back to you, Coy.
And Calvin, may I just ask, you're the Alabama fan. You've seen how things go over the years. Why do I got to tell you about your team?
Because normally they don't drop that game. They'll drop a game usually in Mississippi or in Texas A&M. Um, and I guess last night I watched and saw that Tennessee's a better team than I thought. I thought they were good, but they might be the third best team in the conference. Well, right now they're the second best team. But hold on, fellas, let me do something like this.
All right, we'll get back to you, Corey. We're going to talk about a couple of the matchups. Shout out to Hot Tub Tony, 77.
Hello.
He says, "What's good, everybody? Man,
What's
everything's
good?
good. What's good for you, Hot Tub? We appreciate you being a part of the show. We thank you for all the things you do to help us out and support. All right, Zach, let's put a bow on that Alabama game for just a second, because what you said does make sense. I mean, Alabama, they tend to have games where they're going to lose, but then they find a way to
Yes.
bounce back. Basically, they just need to win the West and go to the SEC championship game, and more than likely they'll be in the CFP college football playoff. Um, and then look at the top, man. You mentioned the defense. They allow 52 points. That's
Horrible.
that is terrible. Even in today's style of football, 52 points is still too much. And they haven't done this since what 1907. It looks like
Yes.
against a school that none of us know of. But I guess back in those days, Sewanee was a good school. But 52 points, you know what I mean? That's a ton of points for any team to give up, and especially a Nick Saban team with all the elite players that are recruited, if you will. So hats off to Tennessee, big win. We'll see, man. It makes it a little more interesting now to see the Tennessee Georgia matchup, and I'm certain that you'll have a lot to say about that when we get closer to that matchup. But let's jump into another game so we can stay on task a little bit. You mentioned USC, and they had a loss against a Utah team that was ranked high in the beginning of the season. They are a Pac-12 rival. So what's your thoughts on this one with USC losing?
Well, first, USC did a great job getting Lincoln Riley. Like, he is a perfect fit for the school. They understood what they needed, and money well spent because their offense looks very dynamic. And California has a lot of quarterbacks and wide receiver recruits. With him being there, you would think you're going to get those guys to come to you instead of going out of state. With that said, this kind of looks like his Oklahoma team, or at least last night it did, that they were able to put up points kind of at will, but couldn't stop a nosebleed. And even if they get back into this, I'm not sure if they win the Pac-12, they should be a college football playoff team, because defensively, I don't think they can stop anybody. They had a really hard time last night. Now, they probably don't lose if they don't lose their wide receiver Jordan Addison when they ran like a end around, or whatever it was they ran, and he got his foot twisted up. So he was out for a good, I think that was in the fourth quarter. He was out for a good part of the fourth quarter, if not in the third, and they had to make do without it. But that's kind of like, I mean, I hate to say the Tennessee, but even Utah, like, as tough as Utah is supposed to be, I think they had 63,000 last night, or I might be off of that number, but they said a crowd attendance record. But even with them, the stadium is only, I don't think it's more than 63,000. Tennessee had like 100+ thousand yesterday. That's what makes as I said, the SEC so tough where you're going with that. So USC lost a tough road game. They kind of had control of it, and they got to work on their defense. But in the big scheme of things for USC, they're on the right path. They can still win the conference, and they're still in at least talks for the CFP. But they have some dynamic players. The quarterback is still young and needs to get better. He took some sacks that he shouldn't have taken. Just because he tries to extend plays instead of maybe doing the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning thing of just throw the damn ball out of bounds, live to fight another play. But overall, really good game last night. That was the last game I watched, kept me up late. And Utah did the what's old boy for the Raiders did Josh McDaniels thing, and they went for 2. And I was like, man, if they go for this, they
Here we
better
go
get
again.
it. And they got it, to their credit.
Yeah.
But you're putting all your eggs in one basket like that. But luckily it worked out for them.
Yes, sir. All right. Corey, you back?
Yeah, I'm back on the mic.
All right. We just talked about the USC
I heard you. I'm listening.
upset loss to Utah.
I'm listening, which is
Okay.
funny because that game was not an upset loss go 3 weeks ago. Funny how things changed.
Yes. And
We were
that's
all
the world of
crowned,
sports.
we all crowned Utah as the best thing that came out of the West in the last 15 years. Oh, we got worried about Utah. Then they took a couple nosedives. And now, who's the best team in the West?
We don't know.
Probably
UCLA or USC?
It's not no UCLA or USC. Right until UCLA takes this big dive, UCLA is number 1.
We'll find out when they play each other.
Well, there's another one. Chip Kelly, I'd put him in the great college coach category. So
I put Chip Kelly as
All right.
as a used to be genius that time has caught up with.
Hey, here's another team that was on the rise and was talked about. And I believe we mentioned this team a couple weeks ago. Is that I think I posed a question about are they real or not, and I believe Zack said no. And I think you did too as well, Coy. But look at Kansas now, another loss here, and this time it's to Oklahoma, and this is a team that's been getting ran over for most of the season. Another high scoring affair, 52 points. I mean, points are just being given up in college football here, but 52-42. Any surprises here?
yes, I will say I was wrong about Kansas. Kansas is they are a legit team. Like they are showing well.
For change. Me and Zack's going to agree for change because I did expect this game to be a boat race. They at least showed up.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them credit.
All right.
The one trend I've noticed in college this year more so than other years is that they've kind of gotten to the point where the offenses have started to outpace the defense just because of the spread offense or whatever. And now these teams, it's not that they don't know how to play defense, they don't know how to have an offense and a defense that work together. So
Agreed.
a lot of these scores, it's not that you have really so much of poor defense play, except for when you're secondary. Forget that your head coach is your secondary coach. Anyway, all right, moving on.
Yeah.
It's more.
I think-
It has more to do with the offensive pacing. Is not built for a lot of these defenses that should be a lot better. If you can get 4 or 5-star kids all day long, but it's still your defense has to be able to respond to the pace of what your offense score. And that's a lot of what goes on nowadays. The defenses can't keep up with the offensive paces, meaning time on the field, meaning can we get kids in and out? You can't substitute. All the other stuff that goes along with your offense running down the field, getting deep back on the field, and they're not just the pace is not together.
Well, Corey, you know what basically it is? It reminds me of when a lot of you guys, when we played Madden football back in the 90s and the real early 2000s, but mostly the 90s. Back then, what did most people do besides me? I ran the play clock down to 1. But most of the guys, hurry up offense. Hit that 0 button, hit that O button, get the offense back to the line. Run, pass, run. But no huddle, hurry up. And if people who understand, who played it back then understand, that's how Madden was played. And if you watch these games, that's basically what's going on right now. Is everything's quick, and like you guys said, the defense pretty much on the field too much. And then there's other factors too we get into one day, but yeah, it's a high scoring affair. Uh, so now a 28 to 35 game, that used to be the high scoring games. Now you just have to, get used to seeing 40s and 50s on the board. That's pretty much how I feel about it. Zach, you want to close out this OU before we go to the next matchup, or are we good?
No, y'all said enough about it. It was
All right.
a good
What's
matchup.
up, Hot Tub Tony? Corey, Hot Tub Tony's in the building, and I know he want to give you a shout out there.
What up, Hot Tub? They call him Hot Tub Tony because his name is Tony and he got a hot tub, just so the world will know.
That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I never would have thought that. Appreciate that inside information there, Corey. All right, Penn State, the Nittany Lions went into up there in Michigan, and they got beat 41. Another 40 burger up here. So 41-17. Anybody get to check this one out?
Yes, and I will say, and kind of like the Tennessee game, but for different reasons. I would say Michigan's in the national championship picture. Like they legitimately in it now. They physically, Calvin should love this. They physically beat up Penn State. Like it was, they had like 340 or 50 plus yard runs easily.
Yeah.
And that just from like they wasn't doing anything special. Like it wasn't no trick plays. It wasn't no, like you just said, we gonna hurry up and go. Nope. This was, we gonna turn around, hand the ball off, and hit you in your damn mouth. And I thought I was watching something wrong because running back would pick up 6-7 yards, then pick up 6-7. I was like, what the is going on? So I'm not sure Michigan doesn't win the Big Ten. If they can play like this, they can win the Big Ten, and I think they will be a legit, like they'll be a legit threat against the SEC team. Like if this ain't smoke and mirrors, and that we don't know
Well,
yet.
this is the funny thing about it is everything about college sports and sports in general is an arms race. It's punch and counterpunch. The teams, if you notice, over the last 10 years since the advent of the spread really taking over in college football, your defensive linemen have gotten thinner, slimmer, and quicker, right?
Yes.
And your linebackers have, okay, to keep up with the paces of the offenses, right? So
Yes,
now,
sir.
eventually, somebody, because these coaches are not stupid, are gonna say, "Wait a minute, let me go back and get me some big hogs and start smashing down your throat." And you're gonna see a trend. I give in the next 5 years, you have more and more teams going back to more traditional process and coming straight at teams because in on one side you got to try to have the athletes to maintain the pace that of the spread offenses, but you got that's so that means your defense, the way you build your defense as far as personnel is going to change. You're going to have all these 4-4-3, 4-4-4-5 linebackers because you got to cover tight ends and slot receivers, and you're going to have all these five DB based sets, and then you take a team like Michigan and says, you know what, we're just gonna line up in a pro set and come straight downhill, and it has its effects.
All right. Well, yeah, Michigan's up there, and that another impressive victory. So they're in the mix for the big one down the stretch.
Most definitely.
Looks like. Okay. We got a couple other matchups here. Guys, I'm gonna leave them on the board, and I'm gonna let you all have it. So here we go. You got Oklahoma State, another high scoring affair, but they fell short to Texas Christian. You have NC State. Man, they got smacked around by Syracuse. So if you guys have anything to say about Syracuse, we can do that in a second. Then of course Zach's team here, the University of Georgia, 55-0. They stomped Vanderbilt. All
Kudos
right.
to Georgia. They did what they're supposed to do. Is there
Correct.
anything else you got to say about that, Zach?
They I'm like you. Georgia has issues. I'm waiting for the Tennessee game just like you are. And we'll see how Georgia matches up then. But I see secondary issues. I see issues running the ball. But you can't really tell it until you play a team that can actually put all that stuff on Front Street.
That's right. You tell them $2.
All right. Anything else there, Corey? Anything about Syracuse? How y'all feel about Syracuse? I mean, I think. I mean, this is not the usual,
I
for
think me,
Syracuse to be in the mix.
I think me and Zach said NC State was pretenders.
and and they lost their quarterback yesterday, so that probably didn't help them. But yeah, NC State kind of is a team. They usually get a lot of preseason hype, and then when you get into the actual season, I can't think of the time it has NC State ever like gone 11-1 or something, 10-1 in our lifetime. I'm not sure.
I'm thinking their best seasons was when old boy from San Diego was there, Mister Have 100 kids.
Yeah, like it no big deal, but good for Dino Babers at Syracuse. He can keep his job. Maybe he can parlay this into a bigger job now.
And there's Zach's favorite coach, Kirby Smart.
He is as of right now until we get an L. If he gets an L, I'll talk much differently than I talked about Coach Saban. He ain't got Coach Saban's track record.
All right, guys.
And who is that? OG $2. I will say, for what I remember of Calvin was a pretty damn good athlete in high school. I don't know about the flip flop part, but I'm sure Calvin ran a 4.6 in high school.
Yeah, Calvin won't brag about himself, but he was a monster in those days, and then went on to Furman and had an excellent career there. Monster of the field. You remember back in the days, Zach, when we used to play in the backyard?
Look, unfortunately, I do remember.
Yeah, and Corey was a terror whenever he was available.
Yes,
we didn't. Our neighborhood, we didn't have him available all the time because he had obligations to the junior high and high schools. But when he was available, we always reserved a spot for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna say he was the Christian Okoye of the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, OG $2 and Hot Tub. We appreciate you guys, man. Keep it going. Before we get done with the FBS level. Obviously, if you saw the thumbnail all week, there's one team that didn't play this week that, I have a question for everybody. And Corey, I hope you're still there. I know you're via satellite today, but Ohio State. Should Ohio State be number one in the country?
No.
They haven't played anybody.
They'll be fine at number 2 or 3. And Michigan at number 3. It should be Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Tennessee. Just by the fact that they win, they should go to number 4, no higher. But I'm sure some folks have them at 3.
And for me, I'm going to disagree with Calvin in the sense of when here's what Calvin kind of talked about too. When the CFP rankings come out on November 1st, if as long as there's nothing crazy happens, Tennessee's going to be number 1 in the country. Georgia may be number 2. It could be Michigan, but Georgia's resume might be slightly better based on what happens with Penn State, Ohio State. But Tennessee will be number 1 in the country. Ohio State will be 3, or they won't be in the top 4. So no, that's easy to say with Ohio State. Because they won't be higher. As I said, they won't be higher than 3 when the CFP comes out.
Man, that's huge to say there. Because right now they were currently 6, right? So that would be a nice jump. Yeah, that would be something good to see.
They have the best. Tennessee has the best resume in the country right now. Like I'd have to give it to them. As much as I want to be a Georgia homer, I can't say Georgia can beat Alabama right now. So they beat Alabama. They beat, I want to say, Florida. They beat Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. They got the best resume right now.
All right, Corey. Any last comments there about the top 25?
No, let's get into the fun part.
All right, we'll do that in just a minute. So we need everybody to do the following, please.
All right.
Hit that like, that subscribe, that notification button. Please do that. It does nothing but help us all out, help the fellas out. We definitely appreciate it. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about a couple of HBCU matchups. We'll be right back.
All right.
Yes, GG Events NYC. Check out Janice. If you're in the Northeast area, check her out. You saw all the designs that she put together there for parties. Does great work. So those are especially the blackjacktv.net viewers up in the Northeast. Check out GG Events. All right, Alcorn State Southern. This was a SWAC, Southwest Athletic Conference matchup. Standings were on the line out on the west side of things. We already know that there's one team out there that's pretty much leading the way in Jackson State, but we can't forget about the Alcorn State Southern matchup. And there's some graphics there, nice looking uniforms there. But yes,
They do look nice.
yeah, they do.
I'm
Let's
gonna
look at it
say
one
it
more time, Zach.
again.
Looks good
I'm
on
gonna
it.
say it again. The HBCUs have better uniforms than the Power Five schools any day.
Those look pretty snazzy right there.
Yeah, very nice. I like that word, Zach. Snazzy. That's a
Yes.
Nah, that was
throwback word right there, man.
his old condescending ass. Snazzy.
What they
Yeah,
do? I like the Southern uniform. Reminds me of the Chargers and their
yeah,
powder blue.
yeah, very nice. And they must have worked because they won 21-17 over Alcorn State, Fred McNair's team, and that's what we have now. So Southern is 4-2, and they're staying in the mix. Should be interesting because their head coach is the former head coach of Prairie View, and Prairie View lost to Jackson State last year in the SWAC championship game. So that would be interesting to see if Southern can be one of those teams that really has to, really give Jackson State a run for their money. But you have
Yeah.
anything about this matchup, Coy?
Now, can y'all hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Okay. Uh, no, it's just basically I believe that that was a close game basically, and
yeah,
the little bit I saw because I didn't get to really watch the whole game. Outside of Jackson, I will say Southern is the best team in the West. Um, their quarterback is average at best. Sorry, he's average at best. He's not the most outstanding quarterback in the conf in HP. He's not on a Shador level. Um, they do have a decent little running back that I do think uh, they can do some work with, but they got some work to do
yeah,
because Southern's been kind of to me the last couple years they've been on a rebuilding train. Alcorn is Alcorn,
yeah.
always competitive, and every so often, every 3 or 4 years, they'll surpass Southern for the top spot. But the game was basic for second place.
Yeah,
But I
and
do, but
yeah,
I do love. But the biggest thing to me about these games is I have noticed, it's particularly this season since the advent of Dion. When we get to him, I have to take some shots at him, but I will say that since the newfound interest that he's spurred onto the conference and HBCU general, I have noticed that they have been getting more and more. As I watch these teams, the level of detail is getting where I like to see it in teams. So it was good.
okay,
It was a good game to watch. I mean, I'd rather watch that game than Georgia and Vanderbilt. It was a more competitive game. And I mean,
yeah,
yes, I get it, Zach. Vanderbilt probably could still beat both of these teams.
Could
But I will
they?
say,
I say, could they?
these teams,
yeah,
yes,
that
these teams.
we have to
Notice I
see.
said these teams. Now, I will say that, but I will say these two teams were probably overall more polished. Couple recruiting classes, depending on how they recruit. These teams are looking more polished, which is the dopest part about it. They're taking football season and they're taking football more seriously overall. And it's not just so that we can get to the halftime and listen to the bands.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So that leads us. Well, Zach, any remarks, so we can move forward.
No, Calvin did a outstanding job.
All right. So we'll move forward, and we're going to move into the Jackson State at Bethune Cookman. This game was played in Jacksonville. the home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's where this game was played. There's the give you a visual of the stadium. I actually been there before. It's nice.
So have I.
Gets hot there early, but yeah. And Zach, you've been there. I'm sure you scored several touchdowns there.
We
But
we went
man,
to watch. We went to watch a game.
oh,
Family
okay,
guy.
all right. Well, you paid me to say that, man. I was trying to blow you up some more. But Reggie Theus is the athletic director. So go ahead and give you a little background of Reggie Theus. He's the NBA great. You know,
Oh,
he played a
I didn't
long
know
time in
that.
the NBA. Yeah,
Yes,
he's
he
the athletic director and the men's basketball head coach at Bethune Cookman. And you wonder, hey, why are we talking about Reggie Theus, the basketball player? Well, that's why, because he's tied in Bethune Cookman. There's a little bit of his history over his career. He averaged 18, uh, three boards, and six assists. So, you know, he's definitely a
and
player.
I believe he's got 2 rings, right?
Well, we're
He
gonna
got
put
one
that
or
on.
two.
We're gonna put that on YouTube. But he did play for several teams. He did play for. He had a stint with the Hawks, the Nets. He played with the Kansas City / Sacramento Kings. I mean, he had a, tremendous history. Originally, he was drafted to the Bulls, and he was the shooting guard before Michael Jeffrey Jordan came along. So Reggie Theus is no joke. He wasn't. He's not just some basketball guy. So.
That
Uh,
is true.
yeah, and a lot of people, if you take the time, just pull them up and look them up. That's why we want to just give you that little seed there. But Reggie Theus is a great player, and in his time. So fast forward to this matchup. So you have Jackson State and Bethune Cookman. Um, Bethune Cookman also has a 4-star that transferred from Jackson State over to Bethune Cookman, and then also the return of Shiloh Sanders, Dion's son, playing at the safety position. He returned, and then also Travis Hunter's returned. So there's some more firepower coming back for Jackson State. So you say, why are we bringing all this up? So Dion, and this I think where Calvin wants to get into it. Well, I'll tell you what. We hold off for a second on that. Let's go ahead and get the score out the way. 48-8. Jackson State pretty much handled them. I don't think there's any surprise there.
There is
Shador
not.
Sanders had a big game, another big game. So he's on a roll. It looks like he's basically going to probably run away with the Black College Football Player of the Year. And you know, there's some people out there that have him in the Heisman
He's
discussion.
gonna get
So
an invite.
he's having a
He's
great
gonna
season.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
gonna get an invite. I mean, let's be real. This is the season that he's having so far
Yep.
is is not. I will never do what Steve McNair did, and I'm biased because Steve McNair is from my era. He's having a Steve McNair light season because what Steve did was just ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah, it was off the
And
charts. Yeah.
and for all those that would say, "Oh no, he doesn't play against whatever." The proof is in the pudding. Steve McNair did what he did in college, and he went to the pros, and at one point he was one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league. So I
Co-league
would,
MVP, by the way, too, Quay,
Correct.
with
oh
Peyton
yeah,
Manning.
and yes, exactly.
Yeah, and
So
again, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear. I'm having difficulty on this end too. But yeah, you're right though. There's no reason to slight anybody because of where they play. Because look at Joe Flacco. You know, where did he play? Wasn't it Delaware, University of Delaware, and he
Correct.
made it to the NFL. You have Phil Simms. Back in the day, he played. Man, the school removes me now, but he played at a small school. You know, you have players, you know, that have made it. So it's really about how good you are and do you fit the NFL criteria when it's time?
right, but I mean, I'm really pointing out that when they say, "Well, I don't know if they deserve a Heisman," well, who knows?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
we had run Dame when Anyway, let's go on.
Yes, sir. All right. So let's get into the Dion situation, the conversation. We have about 10 minutes to go. So Dion Sanders early in the summer mentioned about this game was like, hey, why are we playing this
I
matchup
should be back
at
now. There we go.
at an NFL stadium? Why are we playing it there? And Reggie Theus came back and thanked him for the publicity. You know, we thank Dion for the national publicity. That's great. That's what Reggie Theus said in response to Dion criticizing the October 15th matchup being played at TIAA Bank Field, which is the home of the Jaguars. And I think what Dion was saying was that he didn't want the optics to be a huge stadium and a lot of empty seats. So that was his standpoint on it, is the optics of watching a game like this and then you pan out to the stands and it's like empty. Zach mentioned earlier, Tennessee, 100,000. All you saw was just pretty much orange everywhere. And so I think that's where Dion was coming from on it. But Reggie Theus did make a good point, and I'm gonna give this to you all to finish it up. But he did mention that there's a Biketoberfest in um, Daytona, Florida, at the same time as the game. And so he even said that it's probably better that the game is played in Jacksonville. And Jacksonville has a huge Bethune Cookman fan base as well. So, that's why he thinks it's good to have it there. So with all that said, the floor is yours, Coy and Zach.
Well, I go. Did people show up for the game? Like, were the seats empty? That's pretty easy. If people were there and your seats weren't empty like that, it's a good choice.
Yeah.
If it looked like it was during the pandemic times and you got to put a cardboard people in the stands, you need to probably have a smaller venue, and that's just what it is.
But to be fair, they play games there all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was just the main argument back and forth between the two. I think both had good points, but that's pretty much what that was. So, at least there was no stiff arming going on, between the two.
Well, I kind of think Dion is a rock star. I would think games with Jackson State now, maybe like the Fab Five, that you would get more people.
Yeah.
But maybe that's not the case.
Well, they definitely have fans that travel. And I don't know, the Alabama State game sold out last weekend in Alabama State, and they haven't had that type of attendance before. So maybe what we'll do is for the listeners, the viewers, we're going to put the attendance out on the YouTube page. So after the show, give the producers about 30 minutes or so. Let us eat some scrambled eggs and stuff, and then we'll get those stats out there for you, so you have some more to look at. And of course, we know you have the NFL's coming up today too, so we're running up on the clock. But we ran our offense well today. Any closing remarks, Coy?
Closing remark is, I am loving what Prime is bringing to the.
Oh, we're losing Coy.
Well, I believe he was saying he's loving what Dion is bringing. And agree. There we go.
PWI Sports World.
Okay.
Has a bad. Here we go. What? Here we go. What, Zach? What, Zach?
I didn't say anything. I'm laughing. You said PWI. That's a Mr. 411 word. PWI.
They seem to think that that the SWAC, the MEAC, and all these schools all of a sudden just started football since Dion was there, and that everybody else should just bow down and thank Dion and be all up on his jock about, oh, they better not say anything. They should be glad that Dion's bringing the publicity. And my deal with this mindset is, okay, I get it. You got a rock star, but we all know that these schools, whether we agree or disagree, have been doing what they've been doing for years, and it's just so now that the rest of the world have been paying attention to them lately because of Dion and what he's and it's more or less because originally when Dion got there, they wasn't paying attention to him. It was the fact that Dion took some recruits that they felt that he should not have had because why would this 5-star kid or 4-star actually go to a black college when they can go play with Saban, Smart, Kelly, and all the rest of them? Oh, all that blah 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 blah. And it's turning out not only did he get these kids in, these kids are getting coached up, they are performing, and it's looking, and you're finding out there's a little more better football on that side of the house. Now, as far as Jackson State go, them and A&T are on a direct collision. That is
I think we lost them. but I think he was saying that North Carolina A&T and Jackson State are pretty much. He feels like those are the two schools that's going to lead the way in Black college football as far as standards. And Zach, we'll let you close it out, bro.
I, I like what Calvin was saying. The great thing I'll say about Dion,
Can y'all hear me?
Jackson State has a rock star feel to it. Like like you catch their games. They're kind of like must see TV. So hopefully that can extend to the other institutions, and that will help all of them get more funding so they can compete better with the PWIs, as Calvin was saying.
Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Yes, in a minute. It's not so much. See. My deal with it is not so much. There's more funding because funding means it's going to. My deal is funding for themselves, meaning their booster clubs, meaning sponsorships and other things that goes directly back to those programs. One of the biggest issues that you have with HBCUs because of the budgets restraints that the school has in general, that the programs, whatever the program makes, goes back to the general fund and they get divvied out. So you never really get the money that say an Alabama or the other schools get because the people that's giving the money don't have any say so where the money go. Where
Hmm.
if these teams become more competitive and they start selling out their stadiums, which Dion is absolutely right about, and then they can push their leverage. The biggest thing about this attention is these schools will have leverage back on what they get. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you go play, when you go play Georgia, which I don't think Georgia's taking those games anymore. Um, or some of the other games, that $700 to $1 million that you get comes back to the program versus come back to because the kids go out there, they play these money games, and the money goes to the general fund, and then about maybe 50,000, 60,000 trickle back down to the team, and I get it. I understand that university has to exist too, but when these kids go out there and actually take the beating that they're getting, the money has to come back to them in their programs in a better way, so they can be more competitive. Just out of the fact of for the betterment and the safety of the kids, give them better facilities, give them more funding, so that when they go out there and make your money, they stand on a better foot. And I'd say, mm, give it another year or two. Dion's going to take a money game that's not going to be a money game. It's going to be he's just picking the right team to go play up and take a shot at. I
Agreed.
give it not the next season. I give it if he's there in the next 2 years, which I believe he would, because my philosophy is he gains more being at Jackson State than he does going to a Power Five. Because if he goes to Florida State or whatever, it's like he brings whatever back, but it's Florida State. You know what I'm saying? This right here, if he takes a team, I still say if he takes what Jackson State and usher them into CFS into College Bowl league and win and actually get it and actually makes the top 25 on any chart. He's done his legacy is cemented bigger than he would if he went to Florida State and won a national championship.
All right. But Corey, I mean, you definitely said a lot there, and it definitely makes sense. And definitely appreciate you being on today, dropping the knowledge as you always do. Zach, the same with you. Appreciate you being here, getting up,
Hey,
Zach,
I
you
and
was
let's
missed.
talking it. And one
Zach,
more,
you are missed. I need
I
yeah,
my foil. I need you here.
yes, I was
You
trying
know
to
what I'm
save you
saying?
to I was trying to save you today from trying to commit suicide over
yeah,
Alabama's loss. Let you know it's gonna be
hey,
okay.
guys. And one more thing, guys, before we get out of here, you mentioned top 25, Corey. There was a top 25 upset too, where James Madison lost to Georgia Southern. So, and there's another 45. I mean, the scores are up there, man. But yeah, Georgia Southern, we need to go and throw that one in
Hey,
there too. Georgia Southern with a nice victory.
here goes one that wasn't brought up. North Dakota State lost to your Jackrabbits there, Mister 411.
Oh my goodness! Wow, we got to do an episode about that one. But
Oh, for
man,
real.
North Dakota State lost. Okay, all right. See, way to be on there, man. That's why. That's why. That's why we have to hit that like, subscribe, notification buttons, so I continue to help fund Coy and Zack because they're bringing so much knowledge to the board, and that's
And
the only way I
anywhere
can keep them.
you can get football anywhere, but we give you all the football. We don't just give you Power Five. We give you black colleges. We give you Division One AA. Hell, you never know. You might hear us talk about Albany State.
Yep. Yeah. Matter of fact, they will. Coming up soon, couple weeks.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, for Zack, for Coy, I'm Mr. 401. We thank everybody for watching, listening. Hit all those buttons for us, and have a great Sunday.
Alabama fans, don't panic. It's gonna be all right.
Yes,
All
it's gonna
right.
be all right because they can win.
See,
All Alabama has to do is win their side. The problem because it's looking like remember you were off that week, Zach, when we said something
Boy.
about you may have a Michigan, Ohio State, and a two SEC team Final Four.
All right. Well, we out.
all right. Have a good one.
Good night. Good
Bye.
day.